There we go. Right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. Today is the extra time match report for Everton 1, Newcastle 0 nil. I'm joined here by Paul. Paul, how you doing?
I'm doing good, mate. In a better mood than I have been over the last few months whenever I'm coming off the back of an Everton game. But that was something that everyone needed to get out the systems. And goodness gracious, how we needed that last night. Just the fans needed it, the club needed it, the manager needed it, the players needed it. And it just feels like we've been able to take a big exhale of breath, haven't we? Sort of thing. And hopefully we can go into the rest of the games this season now with a little bit less anxiety
Yeah,
because we've
100%.
we've got we've got a big 3 point. That felt like more than 3 points last night. That felt like the sort of moment that could turn the entire season around.
Yeah, it really did. And it was a weird game all around, really, wasn't it? Just everything you could want if you were a neutral fan seemed to happen to say it was only 1 nil.
It, it, it wasn't very good, the game, in terms of chances created and quality, but there was just so many talking points, wasn't there? You had controversial refereeing, you had strange tactics from both managers, you had some sideshow that distracted everybody for a couple of minutes. You had a late goal to decide the result. Yeah, the neutrals probably enjoyed it, but it didn't feel nice other than the last couple of minutes after the goal had gone in. The first 99 minutes were just hell for me personally.
Yeah, to be honest, I can't tell you the last time I've felt relieved about a football game like that, because even when we beat Liverpool at Anfield last season, I kind of felt like we were going to win. As soon as Richarlison scored, I kind of felt like we're winning this game. With this, you didn't really know until even when Iwobi scored. I think a lot of us were sat there thinking it'd be really Everton right now for them to score after we think we've managed to get it. But I don't know, did you feel the same about this, just this feeling of relief and that maybe this will have the domino effect the club needs going forward?
It left me feeling, trying to figure the way to describe it. There's been games in the past that we've really wanted to win and we've been absolutely left crushed when we haven't won them. But that wasn't about wanting to win that last night. That wasn't a feeling like we had to win that last night. We needed to win that game. We absolutely needed it, because we didn't win that, then relegation was staring us down the barrel, and I wouldn't have had any faith at all that we were going to stay up. I think last night was our last chance to kind of turn the season around. I'd turn it around in the sense that we can end up surviving and being relatively okay in the final few months, because that takes us up to 25 points. It takes us 3 points clear of the bottom three with a few games in hand. And with the fixtures we've got left now, the home games, you kind of see a path out of this mess that we're in now. You kind of see a road that we can follow, and it will lead us to safety. We've got Palace at home, Leicester at home, and Brentford all at home now. If we and Based on that last night, you could see us maybe winning all three of those games. Whereas before last night, I couldn't make a case for us winning any of those games the way we've been performing. But if we win all three of those games and maybe get a result in a couple of ways, then we should be okay. We should be. But if we hadn't got a result last night, or against Wolves, which we didn't, we lost that game, we had to win at least one of these two games to kind of give fans something to cling to, and for the players to cling to, and for the Frank himself to cling to think, right, if we can just match that, if we can just reproduce that a few more times between now and the end of the season, that will be the way we get out of this. Whereas before, it just felt like we were desperate for some sort of good fortune to happen. The only way we're going to get out of this would be if we got extremely lucky. We got a miracle, but it's kind of feels like now we still got our destiny in our own hands.
Yeah, I feel like the first part of the game it really felt like same old, same old. I felt like this was going to go the same way as every other game did. I mean, Newcastle weren't great. Newcastle were awful, in my opinion, but we were just less awful, really, and that's saying something. But I just think it was, at first, it really looked like this was just going to go the same way every other game has recently. And I don't know if you agree with that, but I just feel like the start of the game, I can't imagine many fans were feeling positive after that.
The first half against Wolves and the first half against Newcastle, for me, were nearly identical, other than the fact that we had maybe a different setup tactically, formation wise. But it was the same thing again. We had a lot of the ball, but it was mostly in our own half. And every time we crossed the halfway line, we were just absolutely clueless and didn't know what to do. We were getting overrun in midfield. We were resorting to just long balls, hoping to set Richarlison free over the top, or hoping that he could go up and win an header and flick it onto somebody, and it was getting us absolutely nowhere. Richarlison had the most thankless task in the world in both games, because we were playing as if Calvert-Lewin was still in the side when he's not in the side. Because when Calvert-Lewin's there, all we tend to do is just knock it long to Calvert-Lewin, and he's so good in the air that he can bring it down and win it and maybe combine with someone, whereas that's not Richarlison's game. I mean, Richarlison's a tall lad himself. He can go up and win headers against a lot of people in this league, but he's never going to do it against a seasoned centre-back like Dan Burn, who was a man mountain of a defender. So it just felt like the players just not having a fresh idea in their heads at all. They were just resorting to the same old thing that hasn't worked for months and months and months now, because they just haven't got a clue what else to do to try and create an opportunity for someone in the team. Feels like we're just relying on a Damari Gray or a Richarlison or someone else just have a moment of inspiration, just have a world-class bit of skill and break away and create the chance all on their own. And we haven't been seeing that in any game, have we? Other than very late last night when Calvert-Lewin combined with Iwobi. But no, I think going forwards, we were desperately poor, like we have been for so long now. And we do have to improve, but hopefully the injuries ease. Calvert-Lewin will get back fully fit again and will find his way amongst the goals, and Richarlison will play in a more natural position and he can get scoring, and the midfield can get better than what it has been because players will get fitter. We've still got Toure coming back off an injury, and for me, Toure was awful in both games, Wolves and last night, but he's probably not fit. He's been rushed back early. We've had Alan, who's been in and out. We've had Van der Beek, who's been in and out. We've had Gomez, who is just Gomez, and he's an absolute enigma of a player. And we've had other midfielders who've kind of come in here and there and not really added anything, have we? So overall, the result is what matters, but performance-wise, I think that the team really has to come up with some fresh ideas, and Frank on the side needs to do a better job of getting his lineups and his tactics better, because there's been a few games now where he's gone with formations that have just been to our detriment, really. And I know he's had his hands forced a little bit, and that's a very legitimate defence of him when you say, well, he's only setting us up this way because his hands are tied with injuries and suspensions. But going forwards, when we've got hopefully a fully fit squad, he can't be going back to playing five at the back or looking to just hit the ball long as if Calvert-Lewin was there, because it's not going to work.
No, and I think you noticed a clear difference, because it was weird. It seemed like we were consistently switching between a 3 and then a 4. But it's obvious how much better we are in the 4. And I know Godfrey's not naturally a left back, but even then he seems much better at a natural left back than even as a centre back in a back 3. I just think we play so much better in a back 4, and I think it's blatantly obvious how much of an impact it does have on even just the centre backs, because I feel like Michael Keane in a back 3, his positioning's awful. He doesn't know where to stand at the right time. I feel like in a back 4, I'm not the biggest Michael Keane fan, but I think Michael Keane is much better in a back 4 than he is in a back 5, and I think you can say that about all our centre backs, really.
A back 3 or a back 5, however you want to class it as, for me, it's a bollocks, overrated, overcomplicated formation that only 2 or 3 teams in the world can pull off successfully, and Everton are not one of those teams. I don't know why a lot of managers who are at clubs that are mediocre or probably even less than that persist with doing it. I really don't. It's just overcomplicates everything. When you've got seasoned centre-halves who've come up and learning the traditional way of defending, like Michael Keane has, like Polegate has, just giving Everton examples, they've probably never played in a back 3 at any sort of decent level before in their lives. They didn't come up through academies playing in a back 3. They haven't played 20, 30 games continuously in a back 3, so they've had time to learn and get used to it. In their careers, they've probably played a back 3 for maybe 1 or 2 games at a time, and then they don't play it again for 3 months, and then a few later on in the season, when a manager decides to overthink it again, they go back to a back 3 again, and they can't remember anything they might have learned last time. I just really can't bear it, and it's not a formation that we should ever be trying unless something drastic happens in the next few years where we just bring in loads of players who are suited to it, which I can't see happening. So back 3, no, I'm not. Back 5, however you want to classify it, I'm not a fan of that formation, and I just hate when Everton managers try to use it, because I can't remember it ever working for any Everton manager with any Everton squad of players.
Yeah, I mean, the back 3 is very much based on, ability on the ball and a centre back with a bit of pace. Holgate's not slow, but I wouldn't say he's got pace. I wouldn't say, Michael Keane, the man
Hasn't got
is
the
a truck.
concentration.
No,
either.
Michael Keane is a truck. The guy does not move quick enough, and Ben Godfrey can play it. I think Godfrey's usually the best out of the one when we play a back three from when I remember. But at the same time, I think the only team in England that I can really picture that could, or two, were probably Man City, but Pep would never play that, and Chelsea. Just because Chelsea have had multiple managers now that have played a back three. So even the young lads coming through the academy, like someone like Chalobah, he was there when Antonio Conte was the manager. So he'll have been groomed to it to the point where, as you can see now, he's comfortable in it. Not many players are comfortable in it. And I think I don't think Frank wants to play a back three. I think he wants to play that 4-3-3, that 4-2-3-1. So I think this is just, it's the idea that the more centre-backs you have, the better you'll defend, but it just doesn't work with Everton.
No, and if you're going to get multiple centre-backs into the team, last season Ancelotti did that, and we just played 4 centre-backs with Holgate on the right and Godfrey on the left, and for the most part it worked. I get that it's not a long-term option, because Holgate's definitely not a out-and-out right-back, and Godfrey, even though he does well at left-back whenever we put him out there most of the time, his long-term future probably is going to be as a centre-back in a 2. So if you're going to just be determined to just play a low block and just throw loads of centre-backs out there who will do the basics, then I can kind of get on board with that. But just make sure you play them in a back 4, because even a player who's playing out of position, if they're in a back 4, they at least know what everyone around them is doing. If you're a centre-back who's been put out to the right or out to the left, then you've got to obviously try and make the best of it. It's not your natural position, but you at least know what the guy next to you is going to be doing and what you can anticipate what he expects of you. But being in a back 3, it just kind of feels like everyone's in a mad jumble. It happened. The biggest example of it last season, it always comes to mind, is when we played Tottenham at home, where we just threw the ball in the net twice because Holgate and Keane were just no idea where each one of them was, and they weren't standing in the correct areas. Now, obviously, that's on them themselves. They've got to be communicating better. But when you're going to be playing, as I touched on before, when you're going to be sticking defenders in a back 3 formation, when they haven't come up playing that way, they don't know the formation, they haven't had any time to bed into it other than a couple of days training in the week, it's a recipe for disaster unless those players are absolute whale beaters who can adapt on the fly like that. And we haven't got those. Chelsea have got a couple, like Rudiger. He does well in a back 3, even though he's probably more comfortable in a back 2. We've got Azpilicueta, who can play in a back 3 quite well, even though he's probably better or prefers playing in a back 4. Well, it's just a really stupid formation. And 9 times out of 10, when you play it, you're just making things more complicated than it needs to be. And you're over complicating a defender's tasks and to do in the game. And that's why I do feel sympathy for defenders when they kind of make individual errors when they're put in a back 3, where you think, well, the manager's basically sabotaging them. Maybe that's a strong word, sabotage, but the manager's not doing them any favours by sticking them in this formation that he should know that they're not comfortable in.
Yeah, I think you noticed a clear difference in the back 4. I think, Inky put here, everyone was solid, not exceptional, but solid. I think everyone in that back 4 did their job yesterday. I think, they were probably the best unit we had on the pitch if you split it into defence, midfield and attack. Because to be fair to them, the Newcastle attack did push them a lot. And that mainly was probably because of how bad Newcastle's attack was. But, each of them did the job. I think if any one of them stands out for praise, though, I think out of the defenders, the back 4, I think Coleman was quite good. I think Coleman mainly stands out because of that tackle that led to the goal towards the end of the game. But I think Begovic as well. I think Begovic did a really good job for a backup goalkeeper who's only played 2 Premier League games this season, including yesterday.
Yeah, he deserves mention. I wasn't impressed with Begovic with what we'd seen of him so far. I know he played a couple of games in the early months in the Cup, and he didn't look impressive in either one of those. And he was really poor in that game, particularly where we got knocked out against QPR. And it went to penalties, and he didn't get anywhere close to any of them. So I kind of thought that he wasn't much of a shot stopper, a goalkeeper. He was just maybe someone tall who could come and take crosses, which is, that's half the job, isn't it? But you've got to be able to get your positioning right, and you've got to be able to stop shots just going through you, which he wasn't doing in a lot of in the games we saw him in, particularly that QPR game. But fair play to him. He came in last night and he looked just like the Asmir Begovic that everyone's kind of got used to seeing over the years in English football. Just a very solid, very calm, very experienced goalkeeper who doesn't do anything flashy. He isn't eccentric, really. He doesn't have these really mad moments. He just kind of gets his head down and does what you expect of him, and he'll give you a solid 7 or 8 out of 10 every game. And that's what he gave us last night. And if he can, I think his deal runs out in the summer, doesn't it? But there's an option of an extension. But I don't know. I think he's going to play in the FA Cup against Palace. I don't think Pickford will get back for that. But if Begovic can put in another solid performance in like that against Palace in the Cup, and maybe I don't know whether we'll see him again between that and the end of the season, because you don't know what's going to happen with Pickford. As soon as Pickford's fit, he's going to come back in the team. But you don't know if Pickford's going to get another injury again at some point. But if you'd have asked me a couple of earlier on in the week, would I give Begovic another deal in the summer, make that extenders, get that extra year extension? I said no. I saw enough of him in those couple of games he played to start with to know we can get a better number 2 than that. But I've maybe changed my mind now based on that Newcastle game, and if he plays well again against Palace, then maybe he is worth that extension and keeping him around.
Yeah, because I can imagine the main benefits of Begovic are off the pitch, mentor to the younger goalkeepers. And he seems in a similar way to Rondon. I'm not the biggest fan of Rondon, but they seem almost like good players to have around morale-wise. They're just easy to get along with good people.
They grasp how big a club they're at, and they know they're never going to get a bigger club than this again in their careers. I know Begovic has been to Chelsea, and he's played at AC Milan, I think, as well. He's been at clubs bigger than Everton, but he knows at this point in his career, the only way is downwards. Now that he's at Everton, he knows when he leaves Everton at the age he is, he's never going to get a club anywhere near as good again. And so he's grateful to be here, and the same with Rondon. And you do need those characters around. It's just whether they can justify a place in the squad and the wages with the performances. For Rondon, the answer for me is still no. For Begovic, it's gone from being a no to quite possibly. We'll see what happens in the Palace game. If he goes back to being rubbish against Palace, then maybe I'll be on here again. I haven't changed my mind again. But no, I just wanted to give him some credit because I thought he played really well.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, going on to it, I think if he can, put in a good performance that season to get to an FA Cup semi-final, then we'll all be happy for him to resign. I think I can't imagine he's on massive wages at all. I can imagine the guy's making a pittance to what he made at like Chelsea or even Stoke, because I think he understands now that he's winding down his career, and now it's maybe just one last Premier League club, even if it's for a smaller paycheck, just to, I don't know, maybe to try and win something. I'm not confident we're going to win the FA Cup. I don't think we will, but I've seen worse teams win the FA Cup in the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, if you'd offered me now winning the FA Cup or staying up, it's a no-brainer. It's staying up. But if you said to me, you can go to the FA Cup final and you can beat Liverpool in the FA Cup final, or you can have guaranteed safety, but you lose in the FA Cup final to Liverpool, I'd take guaranteed safety, even if it meant losing the FA Cup final to Liverpool. I know that would be horrible, but Premier League survival is the most important thing. We can't, for one moment, sacrifice what we've got going in the league to help us in the FA Cup. If we're ever going to rest players, it's got to be in cup games, even if it is a cup semi-final at Wembley. If we've got a must-win 6-pointer in the league a few days either after or before a game at Wembley, then I don't care. I'd rather put the kids out at Wembley and save all the best players for the league. FA Cups are a great thing. It would be a great memory. Everyone romanticises and talks about how desperate we are to win a trophy, but there's no point winning a trophy when you go down. Look at Wigan.
Yeah, I think it's the thing where it's,
Birmingham as well. Birmingham won the League Cup the year they went down. Does anyone remember that? Or do they just remember the fact that Birmingham went down and haven't come back?
I mean, it's simple. Where have they been? Did they ever come back up, really?
No, they haven't.
I think we could be a different story, but at the same time, I wouldn't want a year in the Championship. I'd much rather take the safety. And, I do think Frank's the sort of manager who's one of those guys who can just naturally always do well in a cup. As a player, as a manager, I think that's just going to be his sort of thing, where you see the best version of Frank Lampard's squad in cup competition. But I think it's, hopefully we can pick up some points. I know we've got a rough stretch. I think we've got West Ham, and then I think, I know we've got Liverpool coming up soon, Chelsea, Man United, Leicester. We've got a tough run of fixtures, I think, for the next probably 2 months or so now. So I think it's, hopefully we can pick up some points to the point where,
I think we can in certain games.
Yeah, hopefully maybe we do get to an FA Cup semi-final and we're 9 or 10 points from safety at that point, touch wood, hopefully. And then we can maybe prioritise the cup.
Yeah.
That's the dream, where we can get ourselves in that situation. But I am also not getting my hopes up. The FA Cup is, something that's miles and miles away. And if it happens, it'll be it'll be the best achievement I've seen from Everton probably in my lifetime, except maybe from when I've been watching consistently, maybe the 5th season under Martinez.
Yeah, that was a really good year. The year that we should have got 4th, but lost it in the last couple of weeks of the year.
Yeah, so I think
You know,
that it maybe even be the catalyst for change at the club at winning a cup, but it can't be a catalyst for change if we go down, really.
no, it doesn't mean anything if we go down. And maybe some people will disagree with me on that, but I don't remember Wigan that year season. Wigan went down under Martinez. I don't remember that as being the year that Wigan won the FA Cup. I remember that as being the year that Wigan went down and have never come back since. Birmingham winning the League Cup.
Yeah, I
I
think
think it was 2011. I don't remember that season as the fact that they won the League Cup. I remember that as the season Birmingham went down and never came back.
Yeah, I think the only good thing that had come from it if we won the cup and did end up going down would be the extra money, and you get a Europa League qualifying spot, don't you?
Yeah, but you're not going to want that if you're in the Championship. You've got enough
I
games,
think it
haven't you?
depends though, doesn't it? Because I think it's the idea of that if you go down with the wages we've got, then qualifying for the Europa League then gives you so much more money, doesn't it, to kind of block the FFP? I think that'd be the good thing from it.
That's true, but if you're playing in the Championship, you've got 46 league games. That's 8 extra league games, and teams in the Premier League find it hard already balancing European and league football along with all the cups. If we were going in the Europa League but playing in Championship with all the cups on, and you got to remember, you go into the cups earlier than you do in the Premier League.
No,
you,
if we did that, sack it off. Under 23s can play in the
yeah, you
first
start
round.
In the League Cup. You don't come in the second or third rounds. If you're in the Championship, you come in the first. And if you're in the FA Cup, I think you come in the second round. If you're in the Championship, so
well, actually no, because
it's too many games.
If we win it, do you not then automatically come in the third? Is that not how it works?
If you win it, maybe actually the FA Cup, if you win the FA Cup, you'd come in the third, I think. But the point still stands. There's absolutely no point. It's never happened other than that year under Wigan that I can ever remember. And Wigan, again, they just went straight out in the qualifiers. They knew they had bigger fish to fry.
In the first round of qualifying because all the players got nicked, didn't they? We took McCarthy and
Kone,
Martinez. Yeah,
Robles.
Yeah. We took their squad off them, basically. But
I'm their manager.
Yeah, so I think they were bound to fail. But I think when we go back to the game yesterday, I think the midfield was a bit of a problem again. I think we did get overrun in periods, and I think, besides, before the red card, I think Alan was great again. I do think Alan probably has a case for maybe being the best footballer at the club for what he does when he plays, because I think he's now, especially when he plays now under Frank, even under Rafa, I think he has such a big impact on the game, is that I think his tackling, his ability to just get the ball, away from the danger zone, which no one else can seem to do, helps us massively. And obviously he got that red card, which, we might as well go to it now while we're talking about him. In my opinion, wasn't a red card at all. I think it was a strong yellow, like Amazon said. The guy, I think it was, I don't know who it was, a strong yellow, but I don't think it was ever red. I think his foot was low enough. It wasn't high. I know he goes into him, but Alan St-Maximin, I don't really think he's in a position where he's going to do anything dangerous there either.
My only problem is we see those type of fouls every single week in the Premier League made by certain teams, and they get away with it scot-free. City do that countless times in a game. It's part of their setup. Guardiola tells them to win the ball back or commit a foul within a few seconds of losing possession. It's what they do to break up the flow of the game. Liverpool do it more often than they'll admit. They do. United get away with some really gross tackles at times. I wouldn't have a problem with that being a red card if we just saw some consistency. If you saw a few other occasions this season where players have got sent off for something very similar, and you haven't. I can't think of a single example of a player getting red carded for that happening. If you get a second yellow and that gets a red, then you can see that. But I've never seen a case of someone getting a straight red or someone getting a yellow that then gets overturned and changed to a red because of VAR for tackle just like that. It's another Niasse type situation where it's basically just the FA and the PGM or OL, whatever they're called, the referees union, just making a bollocks decision and then decide to make Everton the example of and saying, "Oh right, no, this is the way we're going to be going forwards," and then they never enforce that rule ever again. because I've seen just before we came on here that the appeals failed. It's not been overturned,
Somehow.
and it's not been cut. It's still going to be 3 games ban. We've not got the ban lessened, and we've not got it overturned. The club just put a statement out a couple of minutes ago before we came on here, so it's bollocks. If you saw some consistency, then I'd understand why it was a red card, because it was a bit cynical, and he was nowhere near the ball, and his studs were up. But when you're seeing that happen, when City are doing that countless times a game, when Liverpool do that loads of times in a season, when John Joe Shelby in the return fixture of this against Newcastle committed a foul far, far worse than that and got away with it, it's just bollocks. It just feels like, again, people who are not Everton fans will probably comment and say that's ludicrous, but Everton fans who are listening will know what I mean. It just feels like there's just an agenda, like they're just desperate to see us go down and screw us over in any way they possibly can. Whether it's not giving us penalties we deserve, whether it's giving us bollocks red cards, whether it's disallowing goals that were perfectly legitimate. It's been going on this season. It's been the worst I can ever remember, but it's been going on for quite a few years now. We're just not one of those clubs who the establishment, shall we say, the media, the TV, the referees, the FA, we're just not one of their favourites, like City are, like United are, like Liverpool certainly are. We're not going to get the benefit of the doubt on tight decisions ever. And it's completely bollocks. And it just feels like at times that they're going out their way to just, I don't want to swear, just absolutely shaft us. And I've had enough, and I'm finally happy that we've got a manager now who's going to willing to kind of puff his chest out and take it on. Because we had other managers like Silva, who, whenever stuff like this would happen, they kind of just shrink away and not really want to cause any trouble. I remember when we got screwed over by a referee when we played Tottenham a few years ago under Silva. I think it was that game where Dele Alli blatantly handballed it and he got away with it. And he was like, "We respect the decision of the officials." And it's like, we do not respect the officials' bollocks decisions, mate. Stop. Put up a bit of fight. Stop thinking you're talking for Evertonians when you say that. And that's one thing that I really like about Frank and why I've really warmed to him. The fact that he is willing to say what the fans are thinking.
Well, yeah, it's the fact is that, let's face the fact.
You're on mute, mate.
Oh, a minute. Hello. Give us a sec.
No, when you're getting that sorted. But yeah, I imagine we're going to get people saying, "Oh, what are you talking about? Officials going on about Everton, you stupid conspiracy theorist." But we make this video for Evertonians. Evertonians know exactly what I'm talking about. We are getting absolutely screwed over by officials, and I'm sick to death in it.
Hello?
And if anyone was to come to you and say, "I think football's rigged," then what argument can you seriously put up to suggest it's not? When you see all the stuff that's been going on this season, particularly against us. It just feels like they've got agendas and narratives that they're desperate to see happen. They're desperate to see Liverpool win the league, and they're desperate to see Everton go down.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
No, still can't hear you, mate. I don't know whether maybe everyone else can hear you and it's just me. We're live, aren't we? Can someone say something in the comments and let us know whether it's just me who can't hear?
Smack someone in the comments, someone, and then if you lot can hear me, then or can't hear me, then I'll have to quickly leave and join back. So we'll just give it a few seconds.
Hang on a second. I didn't have the stream up in front of me, so I'm just going to get the stream up now because I can't see people's comments, you see.
Yeah.
So
I've got an idea.
I want to see whether it's just me who can't hear you, or whether the audience can't hear you, or whether it's my sounds.
We can hear both.
This has happened before, I think.
Yeah,
so earlier on.
Well, Callum, I can. Oh, that's really weird.
People can't hear me now, and I've just been rambling on for ages. It's your sound. That's perfectly all right.
Oh, that's really weird. So they can hear both of us, but we can't hear each other. Oh, I don't like that. I do not like that. Oh,
I'll tell you what, mate. I'll jump out and I'll jump back in again. Maybe see if that works.
Yeah. Right. So thank you, everyone in the chat, for that, because I was about to check my phone and start bloody panicking halfway through. But yeah, I think it's like what he says. It's been a season-long story, really, hasn't it? Where bad decisions just seem to go against us, and I don't think it is referee corruption. I don't think that it's like Serie A with Juventus, where they were just blatantly cheating. I just think it's the quality of the officials in this league are so bad that they can't see blatantly obvious calls. And, part of me hopes that at the end of the season, we managed to survive and then something comes out that the referees did have an agenda against us, because you know what? Then at least it'd give them an excuse. If they actually are being genuine when they do this and they're this bad at their jobs, then I think there has to be an external review of the referees. I think there really does. I think there needs to be, we do need decisions to go for us, Russ. It's as simple as that, really, isn't it? We need but they don't go for us. I can't think of I might be wrong, but I can't think of the last time that a decision went for us. Paul, can you hear me now? Yep.
Yes, I can hear you, mate. I just had a little look at the comments while I was out. Yeah, everyone can hear us both fine. So sorry to anyone if that was a bit jarring, if you could hear both of us, but we were talking over each other because we couldn't hear each other. But
yeah,
that sounds fine now. I don't know what happened then, but
yeah, no idea. It's like Russ says here. I think I can get it up so you can have a look at it. It's here. We need decisions to go for us because we're fighting for our lives. I don't know if you can point one out, Paul, if you've got a better memory than me. Have we had a genuine 50-50 decision go our way this year?
The one's not jumping off the top of my head. If anyone can think of one in the comments, please put it. But nothing's coming to mind, mate. No, it just feels like all the big decisions that have happened during games this year have gone against us. And we've got more. I'll tell you one thing: we've got more apologies than any other team this season. Apologies for getting it wrong. Probably got more apologies than any club since VAR came in, because we got one that year that Michael that I think it was Brighton away, was it, where it was just a coming together with the feet when they were both looking up at the ball, going up for a header, and they gave a penalty over it.
The thing is, all the penalties we've had, the Leeds one at the start, the Brighton one, and did we get 3 at the start? Or was
I remember we got one against Leeds that Calvert-Lewin
scored 3 goals in his first 3 games, and they're all penalties, weren't they?
Not sure. I know he missed one definitely against Brighton at home, didn't he?
Well, did he get one against Southampton? Or did Richarlison take one against Southampton?
I think Richarlison took that against Southampton.
I think we've had 3 all season in the first 3 games. And we haven't had one since, I don't think.
We had one against Brighton at home about 6-7 weeks ago, where we lost 3-1. And I think it was 1-1 when we got back. It could have turned the game around, but Calvert-Lewin, it was like his first game back after 3 months out, and he ballooned it over the bar. But no, it's not even just penalties, just stupid little decisions going against us. Do you know what I mean?
It's
like
ridiculous.
That red card last night, or there was another time where I touched on it before. John Joe Shelby just completely snapped Anthony Gordon in the game at St James's Park, and he went to the monitor and didn't do anything, when it was by far closer to a red card than that was last night. Most of the times players are kicking us and getting away with it completely. It's farcical, and if you're an Evertonian, it feels like the system's rigged just to see us suffer and to see us go down. You just feel, because how many times are they going to keep shafting us now before you look at it and think this is not a coincidence? This is not just mistakes. This is someone deliberately wanting to see us be on the short end of the stick here. And if you can laugh all you want, people who are not Evertonians watching this, we've got more official apologies from the referees than any other club in this league. Apologies. Sorry we fucked you over there. Sorry that we gave that stupid result, that stupid decision that completely changed the game and was the difference between you getting no points and probably all 3 points. It's bollocks, and I've had enough of it. And it just feels like we're not only playing the team on the pitch, the 11 men, it feels like we're playing against the officials as well. Last night we were playing it was 10 against 12, as far as I'm concerned, because we haven't touched on him yet. Specifically, that referee was diabolical.
Yeah.
He was absolutely diabolical.
I thought he started the game off okay. It seemed balanced. Both teams were getting given fouls. And then the more and more the game went on, the worse and worse he seemed to get at his job. I don't know if he had his acca and he had Newcastle to win, and he was starting to get frustrated when they wouldn't score. But
I don't think they got a single booking, did they?
No, I don't think they got a booking. But at the start, there was a few fouls dished out both ways. But after that, all Newcastle.
The fact they didn't get a single yellow card is just mind-boggling, because they were just doing a bit of the rough stuff on us.
They got one, and it was the Kraft guy, the right back. That's it.
I don't even remember when that was, but how that Dan Burn didn't get a yellow card for Richarlison was giving a bit back to him. I will concede that. I've seen he got a little bit lucky with an elbow, I think, Richarlison, but the pair of them were at each other all game, and it seemed like he was only ever having a go at Richarlison. Dan Burn, I don't think he got a word said to him all night when he was being really, really, I don't want to say dirty, but it wasn't like he was punching Richarlison or anything, but he was or standing on his feet deliberately. But he was being really rough.
They were being physical with each other, wasn't there? But I don't have a problem with what Dan Burn did, but it then becomes a problem when Richarlison's being punished for doing the same thing. And I understand that when he was elbowing him, when he was jumping, because he just knew he wasn't going to win them. But at
Yeah.
the same, Richarlison probably did deserve a yellow, but so did Dan Burn in a sense.
Yeah, and I think that's a little bit of Brazilian centre forward, English centre back. I think that's just a little bit of reputations coming first. Then he's just looking at it and he's seeing this battle going on between these two players, and he's just automatically assuming the Brazilian forward's the one who's causing the bother, and the English defender's just responding in kind, which is rubbish.
Yeah, I think overall it was just such a weird game, and we kind of have covered the first half. So if we go into the start of the second half, something quite interesting happened. The Riddler from the new Batman film wanted to stop oil and decided to cable tie himself to the goalpost using something that was made of plastic while complaining about oil. And I also believe there's rumors saying that he got to Goodison Park in a car.
I've looked a little bit into that today. When I was at work, I read a little bit about him. That guy who did it, I can't remember his name, but he's from Weymouth somewhere. So yeah, he's clearly not a football fan who was coming to support Everton or Newcastle. He was just coming because it was a public event type thing, and he wanted to get as high profile a gathering as he could possibly think of. Now, I'm all for people. I'm personally, I don't want to go into this like political wise. I'm all for people like protesting about something they're passionate for, as long as they're not hurting anybody and they're not being outrageous in the public disruption. Like I don't believe like these people who stand in the middle of traffic stopping cars going up and down or things like that. But I'm all for people making a point they're passionate about. But pick your time and your location, and pick something that's really important to protest about. Protesting about like oil or something like that at a football match, a very high profile football match where all the fans are just oozing anxiety. Quite frankly, you deserve that punch in the face that fan ran on and gave you. And looking at him, I'm not even going to be nice. I'm just going to say what I think, mate. This guy, whoever he was, who went on and did this, because I've seen his video that he posted before he went in the ground. That's doing the rounds on social media now, where he says, "I'm so and so, and I'm about to interrupt a football match." Mate, you look like you download child porn, and I could smell you through the screen. Don't come back, and I hope your jaw's broken. Fuck off.
It's a weird situation, isn't it? Because I agree with you. I'm all for protesting something, and the point he makes at the start, oil's making these hot countries inhabitable. What does Goodison Park have to do with that?
Do that outside Parliament, mate. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Because the thing is, all you're gonna get is abuse. No one in Goodison Park was gonna sit in their chair, lean back a bit, and go, "Do you know what? He's right." No one was gonna do that. Like, come on, man. Like, pick your time and your place.
Clearly brainless. He's clearly brainless. Like I said, there's a time and a place. And he's clearly not a football fan, or he's definitely not a fan of Everton or Newcastle. He hasn't realised how massive that game was to everyone who was inside the ground watching it. He didn't realise the mood of everybody, that everyone's anxiety. People don't want meaningless distractions going on. He's picked the completely wrong place to do that sort of thing. And quite frankly, deserved everything he got, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, whether that was people throwing ale at him or that fan who ran on and punched them in the chops.
Yeah, and it's like, even something like David puts here, like, if that clampet slips, that's it. If someone doesn't get to him in time, that's it. You've just killed yourself at a football game over something that you clearly don't know anything about, or you wouldn't be tying yourself to it with a plastic cable tie. Like,
he's got a reputation, apparently. Like, he's not just some kind of guy who's not done this before. I was reading a bit about him today. He's done all sorts. Him in this little hippie group he's part of.
Didn't someone try to do it at Liverpool Arsenal from the same group?
They did, yeah. I think it's to do with Insulate Britain. Are these people who have talked up before, like these idiots who park in front of the middle of traffic to say that people should stop driving cars because it's killing the environment. It's like, if you believe that, mate, then okay. Do you know what I mean? I can kind of get where you're coming from, but you're not going to win anyone around to your cause behaving the way you're behaving. He hasn't convinced a single person to get on board what he was doing last night, as you said. All he's done is just piss a lot of people off, and he's the laughingstock of the country, and he's probably got a very sore mouth where that fan sparked him and goes on that fan.
I kind of agree with Russ. I kind of think the good old the Riddler is probably the guy who saved us, because I don't think we were going to score in 90 minutes.
Maybe not, no, but whatever. I'm not giving. The guy got on my nerves, to be honest, because it happened right in front of me. So I'm not in the mood to give him any credit for anything, and I'm glad that he got basically publicly embarrassed, and he got publicly I'm not calling for anyone to run on the pitch and hit people regularly, but I'm just glad that someone kind of. I thought the police were being very, very gentle with him.
I think they have to be, don't they? Because people
considering the arse he was making of himself, like they were being gentle with him when they were actually leading him away. They allowed him to just flop himself on the ground.
Yeah, but I think the thing is, if he doesn't, I think the police look at it as if he doesn't actually offer any sort of physical resistance in the sense where he's pulling away, he's doing this, they're going to get vilified, aren't they? Like, the difference is, look at the guy who chinned him. The copper just straight did some sort of like takedown on him as soon as he got him. And
I think I guess I know I see where you're coming from.
But the one good thing that came from that picture of the guy with the bolt cutters is one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. That's Everton related.
Yeah, everyone was laughing about that today. I've seen some cracking like social media things where it's like, when you're at your new girlfriend's house and you're on the toilet type thing, and there's a picture of that guy's face. Yeah,
it's just so Everton, isn't it, that the bolt cutters were blunt.
I don't know why they haven't got they needed bolt cutters the size of that. You know what I mean? When they were running on the pitch to do it, the guy was running along the side. I thought he's not sure they're going to use bolt cutters.
Did you ever have a knife?
Yeah. Apparently that steward is in deep, deep trouble because he should be as well. Because for anyone who's not seen this or heard about it, a steward clearly his head had just gone in the moment and he'd lost all common sense. A fan in the stadium close to where this was occurring took a knife out his pocket and said to the steward, gestured the steward over and went, "Yeah, use my knife to try and cut him free." And the steward went, "Oh, thank you very much," and took the knife, tried it, realised it didn't work, and then went back to the supporter and gave him his knife back, saying, "Thanks, but no, we'll have to wait till the bolt cutters." And apparently that steward's in deep, deep trouble now. So, and you can't really.
Be sacked.
I think he will be. I think he will be sacked. I don't think they'll publicly announce it. I think it will be something they do on the quiet, but he absolutely should be sacked for that. Yeah.
But yeah, we move on to that, and then that moment it kind of rejuvenated Goodison because the atmosphere was electric. It was it went quiet for a period of the game.
It got the fans angry again, and angry Everton, especially when they're not angry at the players. Angry Everton is what we want, isn't it? We want the players to be up and shouting and making it a bear pit. And maybe after that really poor first half, the winds have kind of gone out of everyone's sails a little bit, but that brought it right back. But again, I'm not giving the guy credit because that wasn't the guy's intention. He didn't do that because he had a look around and thought, I've got to do something crazy here to get the fans all lively again. He did it just to get attention for himself. And he's got attention for himself, but not the type he wanted.
Negative attention, isn't it? It's the same Insulet Britain get. It's like the idea is any publicity is good publicity, but when you make people dislike you, they're not going to go for your cause. But anyway, we'll move past that. We don't want to linger on this any longer. So there was 14 minutes of added time. I didn't honestly expect them to be that much. I was terrified when St. Maximin came on.
There wouldn't have been if Newcastle were winning. There was that much injury time because we were down to 10 men and St. Maximin would come on and it looked like they were going to go for the win.
But yeah, I think I've got to give it to Iwobi in general for the whole game. I don't think his final ball's good enough. I don't think his decision making is the best, but the guy does run his heart out, and the finish, especially, we'll go into the entire goal in a sec, but the finish was extremely clinical from him. He found that bottom corner perfectly, and the irony of someone coming to the game in a Pickford little T-Rex thing, and then their goalkeeper's short arms letting him down was quite funny.
Yeah, it's weird with Iwobi because all the goals that he scored, they're all really nice on the eye, aren't they? They look like they're really well taken. I remember one he scored last season away at Wolves, where the ball it was just like a first time finish, and he kind of opened his body up a little bit. The ball just got whipped across the edge of the box, and he just opened his body, and it's his first time, and it was just right into the bottom corner. It was a gorgeous, sort of Yelovich type finish. And what was the one he scored?
Probably Wolves. Haven't all his goals been against Wolves?
Yeah, he scored against Wolves, but I'm sure he scored one earlier on the season. Wasn't that only his second of the season?
Yeah, he did.
What was the other one he had? All his goals always see if you just saw his highlight reel on YouTube of just the goals, you think he's an absolute whale beater.
You'd think 30 million would bargain, but
but as you said, he's just not got the intelligence, has he? And he's not got he just doesn't know how to use the
But
gifts that God's given him. So
I
I
will give it
still
to him.
don't like Iwobi. I still don't think Iwobi has any future at the club, but we'll take goals like that. Thank you very much.
I think it's because of his wages, but I do think under Frank he's improved massively. How many times has he started in the Premier League? 3 or 4, and he's got man of the match in 2 of them.
He played really well. Yeah, he was immense against Leeds in Frank's first win, and he was really good last night. But I don't want to. We've had this problem for years, haven't we? And we're on this channel on other videos after we've lost, slating these players where they turn up for 1 or 2 games a season and they look great, and then they don't carry it on. And you say, well, these players are just here for the money. They're just here to kind of keep the reputations high. That's why they turn up for 1 or 2 games a season and have everyone on the outside thinking that they're better than what they actually are. I don't think Iwobi's a bad lad at heart. I just think he's a very, very he's just not got the fire in him. I don't think he's got the fire,
No,
and I think that players who don't have fire just don't fit in at Everton, and they're never going to be fully embraced by the fans. But that doesn't mean we're not appreciative when you do contribute here and there. And fair play to him. That was, for me, the biggest goal of the last God knows how many years. Arguably the biggest goal since Gareth Farrelly scored in that game against Coventry in '97 to keep us up. Because we've had big goals since then, but they were all big goals that were in pursuit of something. We were in cups and in leagues, and we were trying to.
away from something.
This was to save us from something. This wasn't an equaliser in a derby. This wasn't a goal in the quarter final like Lukaku's to take us to Wembley. This wasn't a goal in a high stakes Premier League game where we're going for Europe. This was a goal to literally try and save our season, to keep us out of the relegation zone, and he delivered it. So even if he does nothing for the rest of his Everton career now, I think that's something that Everton fans will always look back on and at least tip their hat to him for.
Oh no, I'm completely confident in this, right? This genuine statement. If we get to the FA Cup final, Iwobi will score the winner. It'd be so Everton for the one player who hasn't been a scapegoat for the attack, but the one player who, if you think bad Everton transfer that's led to this, the first person
he's one of the most don't want to say worst transfers, because we've spent more on other players and we've had players who've played less than him and we've had players who just let us down more than him. But it's just he's probably the transfer that encapsulates everything perfectly, isn't it? Just ill thought out, doesn't suit us, wasn't needed in the first place. Probably that type of player in his position that whatever it is he plays. Owner, wrong person buying him. It was the owner, not the manager or director of football. There's just so many things that are not his fault like that Everton fans hold against him, and his price tag as well. But yeah, I'm not suddenly going to get on the Iwobi train and make out like he's got a future at Everton, because I absolutely believe he hasn't, and I want to see him moved on in the summer. But when he does leave Everton, whenever it is, he'll always have something that I'll be grateful to him for, and that was that goal last night, because it was absolutely gigantic, that goal.
Yeah, and I do think he has improved under Frank. I'm still on the boat where I'm more on the sell Iwobi side. But listen, if Iwobi's one of our best players until the end of the season, on a consistent every game he plays, he performs, then I think at that point he's kind of maybe where we have to give him a chance. But we're talking ifs and buts now. If he can do it, then I'm willing to hold my hands up and say you can prove us wrong. Iwobi, go on. But he needs to do that first.
How long's he got left on his deal? I think
I can imagine 2 years. I can imagine 2 or 3 years.
We signed him in 2018, and it was on a 5-year deal, and he's in his 3rd year now.
So it'd be
next
year.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, if he signed, I think his deal will run out in 2023. So he's got less than 18 months left on his deal. So if we were looking to keep him around, now's the time to be really hashing out a contract with him. But I don't see it. I think if we were going to give him a new contract, I think the only chance he's got of getting a new contract is if he plays out to his skin between now and the end of the season, and even then it would still be a hard sell for some supporters.
Yeah,
I still think Iwobi's future is going to be somewhere else in the long term, but I just can't stress it enough. That goal last night, he'll always have a place in Evertonians' affections because of that one goal, even if we don't want him here for the long term future.
Yeah, but while we're talking about Iwobi, we've got to talk about Calvert-Lewin. Just the impact he had as soon as he came on. It seemed like the entire attack just seemed to click as soon as Calvert-Lewin came on. It allowed Richarlison more freedom. His presence, and that little pass to Iwobi was just amazing to see. Because to be honest with you, it felt so weird. As soon as he flicked it, I was like, "This is it. This is the goal." I don't know why I had so much faith in Iwobi to bury it, but it just felt like as soon as that ball left Calvert-Lewin, the back of Calvert-Lewin's heel, that we'd scored. It felt like that to me anyway.
Calvert-Lewin made all the difference because he's the only player who can hold the ball up. We've got no one else we can make it stick to. And we were playing a game all night and against Wolves as well, where we were just hitting it long and trying to get it to stick to somebody. Richarlison, because he was the centre forward. Richarlison's not a player who the ball's going to stick to. Richarlison gets his head down and runs. Doesn't take layoffs or goal for headers and knock it down. It's not his game, and we were playing as if Calvert-Lewin was still there when he wasn't, and that's something we have to adapt to. Of course, Calvert-Lewin belongs in our first strongest 11, but when Calvert-Lewin's not in the team, you have to find another way of playing and getting the best out of our other offensive players, like Richarlison, like Iwobi, like Damari Gray. And finally, when he came on, everything that we've been trying for, I don't know when Calvert-Lewin came on, did he come on in maybe like, because it's hard with the substitution because we had 14 minutes extra time, didn't we? So Alan basically missed the last half an hour of the game because he went off on 15 minutes before the end of normal time, and then he missed 15 minutes of extra time. But I can't remember particularly when Calvert-Lewin came on, but it felt like whatever we've been doing for the first 80 or so minutes, however long it was, it suddenly started working because the missing piece of the jigsaw was finally added. Finally, the ball was going to stick to somebody, and we could just keep doing what we're doing and actually seeing it paying off. And I was down in the Gladys Street, so I had the far view of it, and I didn't even see the ball leave Iwobi's foot. I just saw Calvert-Lewin lay it off to somebody, and then I just saw Iwobi twist his body, and I saw the ball just roll past the goalkeeper and the net bulge. And after that, I ended up under a pile of bodies. It was absolute chaos. So I've seen the goal today properly, and yeah, I get what you mean. He hit it absolutely gorgeous, didn't he? The minute he hits it with his foot, if you're watching it on TV, you know it's going to go in. But from where I was in the stadium, it just felt like a mad couple of seconds where time slowed down. And 1 minute Calvert-Lewin's got on the edge of the box, the next minute it's rolling past the goalkeeper's tiny little arms, and it's just bedlam.
Yeah, I think, and I think the last player we'll talk about before we really finish up here is I think we're leaving till last because we say the same thing about him every week, don't we? Every time he plays, Anthony Gordon, fantastic again. I think he was great once again. I think he had he still has a few moments where his decision making is questionable, but he's 21 years old. The more football he plays, the better his decision making is going to be. But the impact he has on this team, what he can do, the passion he has, I think he did a really good job of man marking that Bruno as well.
Yeah. The thing with Gordon, he's just Everton, isn't he? We've for so long, probably 2 decades, wanted one of our own to sort of pin all our hopes on. We want our Gerrards, we want our Frank Lampard, we want our Jack Grealish, like when he was at Aston Villa, and we haven't had one. We've had players who looked like they were going to be that, and we've jumped behind them, and maybe in the end the pressure's got to them. We had it with Barkley, but in the end, Barkley didn't kick on the way he should have. We had it with Tom Davies, who I think just in the end just didn't have as much. He wasn't as good to start with as we convinced ourselves he was. We overhyped him. Barkley was overhyped as well, but we all knew Barkley was talented. We all knew Barkley could go on to big things. He just wasn't able to bring it all together. Whereas I think with Tom Davies, he would be capable of bringing it all together. He just doesn't have everything that he needs to have. It's just Tom Davies just doesn't have the quality to be that sort of leading light in a team that wants to be playing in Europe consistently and winning things. Whereas Anthony Gordon looks like he could be that player. He's not that player yet, and he might not be that player, but he looks like he could be that player. He looks like he's got the talent for Barkley, but he's got the good head on him of a Davis type thing, where he's intelligent, and he keeps his feet on the ground, which Barkley failed to do. But he's got the ability to go along with all his smart thinking, which Tom Davies sadly doesn't have. So I'm hoping Anthony Gordon, especially under Frank Lampard now, because he couldn't have a better manager to learn off, Anthony Gordon can become that sort of player that Evertonians have just been absolutely desperate to see come along for 20 years now, which is someone who we can sort of push to the fore and build our entire brand around and get him modelling the kits, because we'll always have a hard time becoming a whale brand marketing wise because of who we share the city with. We're always going to be probably the number 2 club in the city because of that lot, but you can still carve out your own unique identity and get certain players who fit that identity and push them to the front and have them appeal to people. Atletico Madrid did it perfectly with Fernando Torres. Whenever you went to Madrid at the time, you just saw photos and posters of Fernando Torres and the Atletico kit everywhere, because even though Real Madrid were the big club in the city, Atletico had a really great identity that people related to, and he had this handsome, passionate kid at the front of it, and they made him at the forefront of everything. And other clubs have done it. Jack Grealish was that at kind of Villa. When you thought of Jack Grealish, you thought of Aston Villa. When you thought of Liverpool, you fought to Gerrard, when you fought to Lampard, you fought to Chelsea. Hopefully we can do that with Anthony Gordon now, and hopefully if we do it, he can manage the pressure that will get put on him. He can be Mr. Everton. He can be the most famous player in the Everton team. He can be the player that all these kids around the world look at and want to be like and think, you know what, I'll support the team that he plays for, which is Everton.
Yeah, and I think he's kind of like a mesh of Barkley and Davies, like you said. I do think he has the talent of someone like Ross Barkley. I really do think I don't know how he's come through our academy and he's that technically talented at such a young age. I think there's improvements to be made, but I think you don't see Everton players coming through the academy that are technically that good. And then he's got the mindset of Davies of that he wants to build a legacy here. And I think that's what's going to make him
doesn't get above himself, yeah. And he seems to be learning. He's taken bad games, and even games where he doesn't perform, he's taken something from them. He's working on it, and it's standing him in good stead. So even if he does have a bad performance here and there, you think, well, at least he's got the minutes in the bank, and he'll only get better for that. Whereas it seemed like Barkley stagnated after that first year, and it felt like Davis got messed around by coaches and was playing in different positions, and any chance he had of maybe getting better and becoming a really special player just kind of went out the window because of everything that was going on around the club.
Yeah, and I think it's weird to say that, we've got a few, but a real like Evertonian through and through, I could see him playing for England. I know we've got loads of talented wingers, but if he keeps this up until December and possibly continues to improve, a few injuries all of a sudden to the wingers, and then Gareth might be looking at you like you might be a nice little spark plug off the bench. And I think
he's done more the last few months than Rashford has.
He's done more than Rashford.
I'm not suggesting he's better than Rashford. No. He's not. Of course, he's not. Not at this time in time. He's nowhere near as developed as Rashford, and I like Rashford. I know a lot of people don't, but I'm just going on that argument. You say, well, it is realistic to see him in the England team at some point in the next 12 months because there's other players in those positions who've not been performing over the last 12 months, and if they're not performing in 12 months' time, why should he not be in the conversation?
England will play in the summer, won't they, before the World Cup? There'll be friendlies.
I think so. We've got an international break coming off after this weekend now. We've got, I don't follow England. I just know they've got two, whatever it's called, that European international, whatever. Yeah, that thing where there's, the Nations League. Yeah, thank you. Where there's 3 teams in a group. Yeah, I don't pay any attention to it. And I know there's been a couple of high-profile players dropped. Rashford's been dropped. Jadon Sancho's been dropped. And there's other players who've gotten in there, like Tammy Abraham, and I think some other kid got his first England call-up.
Guay. Palace centre-back.
Yeah, Palace centre-backs. And they're he's in a really similar position to what Gordon is. He's a young player who's got his break this season. He's become a starter in the team. He's got his head down. He's showing progress. If that kid can get in the England team, then why can't Anthony Gordon in 12 months' time?
Yeah. None of us are sat here saying he's going to play in the World Cup, but
no, none of us are even sat here saying that it's going to be for certain. He's going to be an absolutely amazing player and have a fantastic career. But all the signs so far have been good, and if all the signs are good, you've just got to keep encouraging the lad.
I think the only way his career really fails is a Jack Wilshere situation where his body just gives in on him. Touch wood, hopefully he doesn't.
That, or what happened with Davis happens to him, where there's just so much chaos going on around him at club level and he gets messed around and he hasn't got the right coaches.
I think the difference with him, though, is Davies, a central midfielder, could play a different role in every system. I feel like if you're a winger or a number 10, you've almost got, even if the manager's chopping and changing, I think you are offered a bit more stability than Davies, who was played as a 6, played as an 8, an attacking midfielder. Gordon, he's going to be exclusive to the wing and the 10, isn't he?
And to be fair to Davis, we've had a lot of turnover in centre mid in the last few years, haven't we? We've had players who've been signed for a lot of money who've had to go in ahead of them and play purely because of the price tag, whereas there's not as much competition in Gordon's area of the pitch, is there? Because we've only got Richarlison, Damari Gray, who everyone likes, but Richarlison plays up front in the centre half the time. Damari Gray's been injured. And who else? We've got Iwobi and Townsend. Townsend's not got a long-term future here, and
he's
got just talking about Iwobi. For a lot of people, Iwobi hasn't got one either. So
Townsend's only a 1-year deal, isn't it?
No, it's 2 years, I think. Andros Townsend, but he's another one. I've got nothing against Andros Townsend, but he's just another player who. I was dead against having Townsend in the summer. I remember doing the video when I basically said it was a disgrace we were signing him, and I know he's dropped off in the last few months, but the first few months of the season when he was playing, he was our best player during those early times under Benitez, where we started relatively well. He was our best player before Christmas, but it's just he's gone back to being Andros Townsend, hasn't he? Which is just a bang average winger in the Premier League. He'll have
Yeah,
a few
I
good
think
games.
he's good to have, isn't he? But as a squad player, not as a starter.
Yeah, he is, but at the age he is as well, you're going to want squad players eventually who are coming through your academy, aren't you? You're going to want your next generation to be your squad players, and then they'll grow into being stars. You don't want to be ideally signing 30-somethings to fill out your squad, which is the situation we were in. But yeah, just going back to Anthony Gordon, everything I've seen so far just makes me really want to get behind this kid and really like him as a person, because he seems like he's so level-headed. He's doesn't get too up. He doesn't get too down. He doesn't let fans, when they sometimes get frustrated at him and they show the frustration, he doesn't take it to heart like Mike Barkley did, or he's not like Tom Davis, where it seems like at times he's now this is maybe not fair when I say this, but it comes across sometimes like Tom Davis is more interested in other things. That's just how it appears. He's probably not, and Tom Davis is a really good lad, but there are times when you do look at, you think, I just wish Tom Davis would kind of keep his head down a little bit and just focus on becoming a better player. Whereas it feels like Anthony Gordon is doing that. You don't see Anthony Gordon out in the city centre anywhere, like dressing outrageously. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I want to stress that there's not. But sometimes it's just really good for fans' sort of moods, isn't it? Fans are more likely to get behind a player who they don't see anything of them in the private lives. They only see them on a match day and they only hear about them on a match day. They find it easier to relate to them because they probably think that player doesn't mean just because we don't see something, he doesn't do something. But sometimes it's easier to just keep a low profile when you're a young player coming up, isn't it? And then people will give you the benefit of the doubt when times get bad.
I do think Tom does keep a relatively low profile. I just think obviously when you've got the style he does, you naturally stand out. People are going to take pictures of you, and I think I don't blame him. You know what I mean? If he wants to dress the way he's always wanted to dress,
I mean, that probably came out the wrong way. What I'm saying is, when you're a young player and you're impressing people, and the pressure's building on you slowly but surely, sometimes it is better to just be a little bit more introverted than it is extroverted.
Yeah, unless you are really at the top of your class for young players.
Yeah, and what I'm basically saying or trying to say in after speaking is, I just really like the fact that Anthony Gordon is someone who you don't hear about other than match days. So I think that's standing him in good stead. I think he's doing a really good job of just keeping his head down and kind of giving off the impression that all he thinks about in his life is football.
Well, I think, before we end off, I'm just remembering this off the top of my head. I think I saw that it was under 21s or under 23s like team of the month, and out of every young player in the team, Anthony Gordon had like the highest average rating comfortably. So it kind of says something when, technically going off statistics, he was the best young player in Europe that month. So
not a lot of England's under 21 players get consistent minutes in the Premier League nowadays, do they? So if you're getting consistent Premier League minutes at his age, you've clearly got something about you, haven't you?
Yeah. Right. But anyway, that's where we're going to end off. Good win. Hopefully we can follow through, win against Palace, and then
that'll lift the mood, keep everyone bouncing.
Next Premier League game is, you're going to have to tell me how, are you?
I know it's against West Ham away, which we'll do well to get anything out of, but I feel a bit better about it now, coming off the back of a hard-fought win against Newcastle. It just felt like everything was gone against us.
I think that'll be quite similar to this game, where it looks like a bit of a scrap.
Yeah, but I'm a bit more convinced now that the players would be able to dig in, and if they can't get anything, they'll at least make West Ham work for it, because there are ways to lose. We can't go to West Ham and have another Tottenham-like performance or another Wolves-like performance. We've got to go there and just kick, scratch and bite. And even if we come away with nothing, we make West Ham really work the balls off to see us off, because we just keep up that level of fight and that level of determination to get out of this mess we're in. There's a very good chance we will get out this mess and that the points will come along. I think the key to staying up is winning those 3 home games I listed off. We've got to win Leicester at home, Palace at home, Brentford at home, and we've got to try and get another result somewhere, whether it's United on Grand National Day, whether it's we can nick a point off Chelsea when they come, whether we can go away to Burnley or Watford and maybe get 2 points out of those games or get a win and get out of them. I think we're on 25 points now. I think another 10, 11 points, we will be safe.
Yeah, I'm the same.
We get 9 points out of those 3 games at home, And if we maybe win another one somewhere, I think that will be enough. And that's all I care about. I don't care if we finish 4th from bottom and we stay up by a point. Just stay up. And that's how we'll stay up.
Yeah, there's no difference between, like, if we finish like 11th, oh yeah, it's nice. Look at the turnaround. We'll all get excited about Frank Lampard, and more excited anyway. But I think at that point, we're at a point where now it is just stay up. If we finish,
just get to the summer. If Frank can just get to the summer, then the real work can start. His Everton project will officially begin if we can get to the summer and we're still in the Premier League, because then he'll be able to hopefully clear the decks, get a pre-season under his belt, get a few of his own players in, embed his ideas better, and we can go into next season still in the Premier League, looking upwards rather than over our shoulder all the time.
I think, yeah, and I think especially with the way Chelsea are going, I can see Chelsea, I think, are selling the summer. So I think Frank is going to be desperate to survive to take a few of those lads who he knows and hopefully bring them over here.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. But anyway, thank you all for watching this video. Please like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you to Paul for coming on.
Cheers, mate.
And thank you all for watching. We will see you all later.